Hey everybody, welcome to AD2L Season 5, the $100 one-day tournament being hosted by the AD2L. Jordan Rasputin is the one doing all the adminning and hosting for that. I'm at Wolf Dota with Korean Barbecue co-casting with me for some a little more in-depth analysis and just better all casting with two people rather than just listening to myself chat. We've got Non-Virgin Gaming against Herps. So, I mean, kind of makes sense if you're a non-virgin to have the herps, but whoops. How's it going?
Awesome, man. Great to be here with you again. And yeah, I hadn't noticed that with the names. So we'll see who wins out here.
Wow. I mean, once you got herps, that's just for life. But interesting first pick though coming out for this. I wasn't expecting the timber saw to come out so like at all. First pick. Like, is that a first pick hero? What is this?
Usually not, but there's a restriction for this tournament, as you mentioned. It's a 3,500 MMR tournament, and
Hmm.
at all levels, not just 3,500 or below. Oftentimes, it's a good pick strategy to just take the hero that you're comfortable with playing. So I expect, I would say probably Herbs has a good Timbersaw player in there, or someone that they trust on him.
Someone that they're confident in that can play that timber saw and get those kills. For get the kills, get the rotations, get some effective lane presence in that off lane. And non-Virgin Gaming, they go with a Tide Hunter, which I think is a much more traditional first pick hero at all levels of gameplay. He's just so good. The Ravage is such a powerful team fight ability, and even if you don't throw it, just holding it and saving it for the next fight, or that threat of the Ravage is just so good. And then just an excellent hero that can usually get some solid stuff in the off lane. And a second pick, Faceless Void, come out for Non-Virgin Gaming. Again, we saw that earlier today in the other series we were casting, and they ran that Void very effectively. Hope to see that again. But Silencer, the pick, the kind of the counter pick coming out for Herps. They nice plays though. If he's quick with that R button, can really screw up the Void and the Tide Hunter.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly, a team fight preference coming out from Non-Virgin Gaming. They've got the Tide, who, as you mentioned, is great with that Ravage and team fights. Faceless Void, of course, just that Chronosphere shuts everybody down for a little bit. Oh, they are both melee heroes, so there might be a little bit of awkwardness there if they're in there together. But also, as you mentioned, the Silencer is really good at putting the clamps down, especially if he starts getting item progression into things like Aghanim Scepter or Refresher Orb to cast the Silence more than once.
Hmm. The the later game, the better for Silencer, I like to say, because he's got infinite scaling with that stat gain of the intelligence, as well as just that double refresher ulti is so devastating. And it's also a very good counter towards Tide. So if he gets that Ag Scepter and pops it, Tide probably possibly won't have mana won't be able to purge it off and then cast his second Ravage or his Refresher Orb or something along those lines, and can kind of screw up the combo in that way. And also, if Silencer gets like say a set or two of intelligence stolen from Tide before 20 minutes, he's gonna be really hurting. That's 13 mana per intel, so 26, 52 mana stolen. And I know it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when Tide Hunters are usually working with, they have it costs 980 mana to pop their combo, and they have 982. You can really mess with them.
Yep, and that's a great point as well about the stolen int. That could also be a problem for the Void if the Void dies a few times to the Silencer, because he basically usually has enough mana for his combo for his Time Walk In and Chronosphere. So if he dies too many times, he may need to pick up treads or other stat items or something just to make sure that he has mana for both in the early mid game.
Hmm. Quick run through the bans that went on while we were chatting about the picks. Ember Spirit and Lycan banned out for non-Virgin Gaming. So a very powerful team fighting hero in the Ember, and then maybe a little less of a team fight, a lot more of a scrapper in the Lycan and overall pusher. Witch Doctor and Brew were the bans coming out from Herps. So both very good combos to go with the Tide Hunter and the Faceless Void. That Witch Doctor ulti is just insane, and then if you have a good Brewmaster, he can literally just crush games for you.
Yeah, the Brew is one of those heroes that's really strong with, as just what I'd like to classify as a control hero, just somebody that keeps everyone where they need to be in team fights.
No, for sure. They getting that panda split off, and then going panda split into an AC Vlad's just it's so nice, and it would combo really well with the Void, even if the Brewmaster's just sitting in the Chronosphere beside him. That extra attack speed, the minus armor, and then the life steal and extra damage is really potent. Jakiro picked up for NVG. They look like they want a little bit of push, and I like this. It's a very EG draft. That said, so EG, they'd be playing. They'd have Universe on the Faceless Void, but they'd also probably have him on the Tide. I don't know what. Feared Tide Hunter, feared safe lane Tide. That's what that would be.
Yeah, that's I definitely was thinking the same thing. It does have an EG flavor to it. Fear running some carries like, or some heroes rather, instead of carries like Tide or Visage, getting some safe lane farm on them early. And then, well, these are actually all universe heroes because I've been seeing him play the Shakiro a lot with that Yule Scepter. So maybe it's more of a universe draft.
We got some fanboys in the game. It's good to see. Vengeful Spirit picked up for the side of Herpes. I really like this hero. Really good counter to Faceless Void. Can when whatever hero he's decided to target starts dropping low, you can defensive swap them out. Maybe if he's in the right spot within the Chronosphere, hit him with a magic missile and just kind of control him while he's in the Chrono. Which if you can do that to a Void during a team fight, you can often win that team fight if you can effectively control the Void during his Chronosphere. Now the Jakiro pickup also combos very well with the Tidehunter Void, just Macropyre. Macropyre for days. Very good game for the Jakiro. Lots of nice big AoE control, so he can lay down a good one, follow up with the Ice Path and the Dual Breath. I also like the Pugna pick. More damage to be laid into this Chronosphere slash Ravage, especially just kind of the counter initiation. Well, maybe not counter initiation, but a lot of deterrent coming out with the Nether Ward and the Nether Blast as well. Thoughts?
Yeah, that Pugna ward's going to be excellent for hurting the Timbersaw Silencer in those fights. And as you mentioned, both the Shakiro and Pugna do well in the Chronosphere. I mean, Pugna, you have that life drain, just hold the target still and drain his life. Plus, now Pugna can give life to allies. So this is a pick that we're seeing a bit more commonly in the pro scene as a hero that you put behind tanky frontline heroes that can kind of keep them up in addition to providing AoE support.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sorry about the dropout. One of the people watching in Twitch chat said that you were a little bit quiet, so I turned up adjusted some of my volume settings, so hopefully you'll be transferred through OBS a little louder now. Let me know how he sounds, guys, in the Twitch chat. If you don't say anything, I don't know. Spectre picked up for Herp, so an excellent team fight hero in general, and just some solid late game coming out for them. He can die, buy back, haunt in, as we've all seen a number of times, and he's just very effective as well, and can deal with a lot of damage coming out. Plus, if he goes Radiance, can kind of screw up the Tide's initiation, and can screw it up anyway just by hitting the Haunt, and Global can really mess with the non-Virgin Gaming if they aren't able to get ahead.
Yep, and I think the Herps are finally starting to show their hand a little bit for the heroes that they're going to prioritize late game. And Spectre, this is obviously that big pickup that also can be played very actively as a carry. So he can go around with these heroes that have nice early bursts like Timbersaw, Silencer, and Venge and pick up some kills too. You might see an earn build coming out in the Spectre, which has been increasingly popular to put pressure on heroes like Void who need a bit more levels and farm to really start being effective.
Go for that more combat-orientated Spectre. Get the earn, maybe earn treads, drums kind of thing. That way you can actually come to fights early once you have that level 6. So, quick final bans were the Enigma Black Hole from Non-Virgin Gaming and the Shadow Shaman from Herps. So, they were worried about just getting 5-man rolled with all these ultis and stuff like that, and then just the sustained push from the Jakiro and the Pugna, which we didn't really mention that combo of the two, but I think they're going to sit these two supports in the safe lane. Hell, they could put them in any lane they wanted and eventually just take that lane. Final pickup of a Mirana. So we didn't really talk about the lanes too much yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be Tide in the off lane, Void in the safe lane, Jakiro, Pugna safe lane supports and just rock that tower, and then Mirana mid. Like, what are you thinking?
I think that's one good configuration that they could use. I think it's also possible that they want to run a Pugna mid. He does a decent job against what looks like might be a Silencer matchup, and also getting some early levels in farm on Pugna is good. He ends up becoming a little bit less squishy with some basic items. He's a good mech carrier, and he can pressure towers on his own if there are rotations. So we might see that Pugna going mid because Mirana is usually not favored as a mid. She doesn't have great base damage, and against Silencer, she could really struggle if he drops that control magic and the last word on her.
Okay, so I'm getting some people in chat saying that you're pretty quiet. I'll see what I can do on my end, but there's only so much
Okay,
I can
I
do.
moved the mic a bit closer, so hopefully that makes a difference. But yeah, keep letting me know how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Final pick, taking a while for Herps. They haven't really decided what they want to go for. It looks like they need a mid hero. I can see Silencer support, and then a Spectre as well
10 seconds to go.
in the safe lane with the Venge. Timbersaw in the off lane can kind of see that, and they do pick up a mid Dragon Knight, so that'll work out as well.
Yeah, so that confirms the lanes for them. They're, as you said, they're probably running the Dragon Knight mid and putting the Silencer support, so that frees things up a bit more for non-Virgin gaming. They don't have to worry as much about the mid with the DK, and they could probably run them around there and get away with it. But still, I think I would like to see a Pugna there just because of the difference that early experienced farm makes, and Pugna, I think, would do a better job of bullying and threatening the DK with a Mirana supporting and roaming and possibly arrowing for any of the lanes to pick up kills.
Oh, for sure. Quickly introduce the teams here. We've got what is that? What is that on the silencer? Espatine Bar for Herps on the silencer. French Fries playing that core position Spectre. Doctor Evil on the support Venge, and Apollo on the DK. Then last but certainly not least, that off lane we got Doctor Jeff playing that Timbersaw. You want to quickly run through the dire?
Sure, we got Mr. Sinister on the Pugna coming in and what looks like they're hiding for an ambush here. Or, we got the Sauce Factory in the Void standing right next to him, and streaming just behind NVG Who and Kiko and Cesar. Sorry, Kiko on Tidehunter, Cesar on the Mirana. So the team seems to be gathering by Roshan. I think what they're planning to do is wait for the Radiant to come by, check this rune, and then spring their trap.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's what it looks like they're gonna want to do. Doctor Evil is he drops the sentry, so he's gonna see the tide. Oh, if he goes up to harass this, they're gonna get a gush out on Doctor Evil. Ice Path to follow up. Arrow is gonna miss, unfortunately, but I think they're gonna get the kill anyway. Nice first blood coming out on the sides of NVG Gaming, or NV Gaming. Whoops. Whatever.
Yeah, some nice ninja tactics there, and I'm not sure if they were astute enough to notice where and when the Venge plopped his ward down. If so, they're going to know there's a ward here and play accordingly.
No, I think Tide has a sentry, but he's probably going to want to block the camp so that they can't get pulls on him. But I think there should be another sentry somewhere on their team. Jakiro has one, but he opted not to go for the D ward. So quickly, the lanes are shaping up. Tide in the off lane, up against the Spectre, Silencer. I think that's going to be a pretty unfortunate lane for him. Silencer, once he gets level 2, is going to have a point in glaive and be able to orb him back. Dragon Knight's dropping very low in the mid lane, though. He got hit by an arrow. Sinister right-clicking him down, got him with a Nether Blast, but the Mirana wasn't there for more right-click follow-up. Okay, sounds like you're a little louder now. I fixed your volume. So people in Twitch chat, hey, shout out to those of you watching in Twitch. Thank you very much for tuning in and supporting the AD2L. You can also watch in-game with the ticket. So quick little plug there for the AD2L. Feel free to support if you wish. Mirana is looking to pull. Her camp was warded up though, and meanwhile, looks like they're just going to settle into the farming game. Who do you give the laning stage advantage to, minus the first blood?
It's a bit hard to say. I kind of like NVG's position. That first blood was good for them. The Tide is probably going to struggle a little bit down bottom. I mean, he did get a Gush first initially, but of course he's going to get into Anchor Smash. So that's actually a decent tool to use to keep from losing all of his mana or health to the Silencer. So I kind of like NVG's lane stage. I feel like they're going to get a lot out of the mid lane, and they're going to get what they need out of the other lanes. So it's pretty close. I don't see any huge advantages that look to be going either way. Timbersaw's doing okay top as well.
No, for sure. I don't think they'll be able to kill the Timbersaw unless they get some RNG as this bashes out from the void. The ice path into, I mean, if they get a Marana arrow, sure, like a 4-second Marana arrow, sure, but barring some next level arrows coming out from them, I can't really see it. Looks like they're juking towards this Dragonite in the mid lane though. Marana was sitting up there looking for an arrow, not gonna go for it. Quick question about the mid lane. You obviously give it to Pugna, I would assume,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay. So both heroes are able to spam each other out pretty hard, and both of them are gonna clear out catapults as well. I think Pugna probably wants to push it up the tower and drop some early Nether Blasts on there, I would imagine.
Yeah, and in terms of the Mirana ganking and arrowing, I mean, Pugna also is pretty good. He's got kind of a combo spell. Decrepify is obviously not going to hold him in place, but it helps slow him down if there is an arrow on the way. And I just like Pugna's ability with that slow to help control the runes. And they have very aggressive rune vision right now, so they have the vision to sniff out any rotations that might come from the Radiant. And it doesn't look like the Radiant's really going to try to pressure or kill him at this point. They need to protect that Spectre, who, if left alone against the Tide, is going to have some trouble dealing with Anchor Smash.
So I think the Void is a lot safer by himself up against this Timbersaw, unless he gets massively outplayed. Timbersaw's only got 1 point in Timber Chain, 2 points in Reactive Armor, so his damage is pretty low, just a little bit of escape. This Tide Hunter in the offlane, though, he's level 2, not getting a whole lot of levels, but he's already got a triple stack here of Ancients up in there on his woods, so he's securing himself some a little later once he gets those levels. I want to say you need 3 points in Kraken Shell and two to do it, and then 2 points in Anchor Smash minimum, preferably 3 or 4. So he's won't be able to clear it out till he's about level 7 or 8, but at the same time, he's securing some farm for himself later in the game. Good to see.
Yeah, that's a good use of his time there. And also, there are a couple other things that they know on the Dire side. They know, one, that there are no smokes on these supports, so they don't have to worry about a sneaky mid-rotation. Additionally, since they're here protecting the Spectre, they haven't actually dewarded the pulse. So he knows that the supports have to staying there in lane, not threatening their mid, and not really doing anything else. So he can feel safe going there to stack or showing his face back in the lane to say, hey, I have to make sure you guys are here so that you can stop me. Otherwise, I'm just going to get whatever I want out of this lane. So he's doing a good job of getting what he can by doing those stacks, and also they have the information to make those decisions on the Dire.
No, for sure. They and the Tide, he's got that 1 point up in Kraken Shell, gonna look to get more, and I think it's pretty unfortunate. Venge is, I think, a really solid roaming support. Magic Missile is a very good spell. Like, it's not the most damage, it's not the longest stun duration, but it's a very solid spell. It has a nice short cooldown. She can usually throw it out twice early, in a fight if needed. It's only on a 10-second cooldown, and then if she decides to go with a Wave of Terror, the minus armor early can be quite effective. Silencer has a fair bit of damage to roam, no real control, but if they get a decent position, he can certainly help out there. Timbersaw in the offlane, he's got 11 CS. He's level 5, so he's doing far better than this Tide, but the Tide has been pulling, but now that the equilibrium's in his favor, he's going to get a fair bit of levels and shoot up here as well. Void farming hasn't got any points in Time Lock, going for a more defensive build with the backtrack and the Time Walk. So I don't know. What do you think of that?
Oh, that was a kind of a case of both heroes in that top lane going for a bit more of a defensive build. The Timbersaw might have been able to get away with just 1 point in reactive armor, but he chose to max that first. The Void also is deciding, hey, the Timber can put some damage on me if he goes on me, so I'm going to go into backtrack instead. So kind of a wash there. The Spectre making interesting pickup. We see a Power Treads on her, where most Spectres will get a phase boots to help them fight early, as we look like Skirmish is going to break out here in the river.
Yeah, Ice Path throws out, but it's not going to hit. Arrow doesn't land on anything, but they're going to look to go on this Dragonite. They get the Pugna life drain on him, but not enough damage. And it looks like both heroes are going to just walk away from each other, as it were. Dragonite goes for a Soul Ring. I guess that gives him the spam for Breathe Fire, which is not terrible. And he does have pretty solid regen with his Dragon Blood in a bottle, so he'll be okay there. Ooh. Nice support play coming up from Dr. Evil there. Playing that good guy Venge, gives him a salve there, really helping him out, keeping him in lane.
Yep, and the Soul Ring, does synergize well with the DK's passive. Also, I think he's not expecting to get as many runes, or maybe he feels it's a little bit more dangerous to go for them. So, short of Bottle Crowing, he needs some way to maintain his Breathe Fire spam.
And he, with this ultimate, there's not a lot of time left on it, and first ultimate used and wasn't able to get any damage down in the tower. So a little unfortunate there. Not something you want to see, but sometimes there's not a whole lot you can do. Tied in the offlane, level 4 now, almost level 5. French Fry is farming pretty well. Did go shreds and has 800 gold in the bank. 40 CS, leading the charts. Pretty solid for 7 minutes in, 40 CS. Well done.
Yeah, he's significantly ahead of the Void, and I think that the Shreds, might portend that he wants to fight a bit more, gives him more HP early on in survival. Either way, it's a good item to help him survive ganks as well, probably offering him a little bit more.
In the mid lane, though, they land a Nether Blast into an Ice Path, but no more follow-up here. Didn't have another Decrepify Nether Blast to throw at him, so just tried to drain some off. Sorry to interrupt, you were saying? Talking about the Void and the Spectre?
Oh yeah, my point was finished there, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. We have Chronosphere up on the Void now. He did get a 3rd point in Backtrack, so that might gimp his offensive abilities if he wants to go on and Timbersaw and try to get a kill. But it'll have to depend on how well he combos with his other heroes, with his Jakiro or maybe an arrow from the Mirana.
He did also go for a Midas though, so looking to get more secure that later game farm, as it were, trying to maybe take it to late game, catch up in levels and farm a little bit there with that. But it's really going to push back his treads if he decides to go with that, and his next item, whether that's a Mask of Madness, BKB. That said, Dragon Knight gets hit by Decrepify and a nice arrow from the Mirana. That's a quick kill coming the way of NVG. So score 2-0 in their favor, and Void didn't even have to use Chronos, so they still have that online. But what I was getting at is he's not going to hit hard for a long time. He's not really going to do anything. Tide in the bottom lane managed to just TP out from underneath the Spectre and the Vengeful Spirit.
And this is another thing to pay attention for both teams in these early rotations. Other than the Dragon Knight Herps on the Radiant, they don't really have much push coming out. Like Timbersaw's not a great pusher. So if there is a rotation somewhere, they're going to have a harder time trading for objectives. Like you saw a 4-man gank there on the DK. They're not really able to pressure the tower in exchange. Whereas for NVG, it's kind of the opposite. They have both the Jakiro and the Pugna who are pretty good at pushing towers and tied with good wave clear. So if they do give up something on a gank or an objective, they can easily take something in return.
Top lane, Void's looking for to jump in. Not going to find it. And the Timbersaw is just going to chain away, and he'll be alright. So that level 1 Chronosphere. And we didn't talk about this earlier today when they picked up an Ags, but Ags is that much better on Void now that they increased its regular cooldown from 80 seconds to 90, increased it by 10 at each level. So it cuts off 30 seconds of the cooldown when it's at max level. Tide, he's got 3 points up in Anchor Smash. Gonna want to get that next point up in Kraken Shell. How many stacks does he have? He's still just a triple stack of Ancients, but not a bad thing at all for him.
Skirmish breaking on the river here as they contest the ruin, and the Avenger will sneak in and take that DD. But yeah, I think the story so far, in terms of advantages or openings for Radiant to capitalize on, is that their offlaner is doing much better. He's level 8 up here. He's got his Arcane. Looks like he's about to finish his Soul Ring, whereas the Arcane is just coming out for the Tide, who is just shy of level 6. So I think they might be thinking maybe we can take a fight or something before Ravage, although the Silencer also doesn't have ultimate. So hopefully they leverage that, and just as I say that, they did put out some harass on the Void top.
Quick question. As this Tide, would you get level 6 and get a second point in Kraken Shell rather than your ulti? That said, the Haunt comes out from Spectre, and they're doing a lot of damage to this Void, and they clean him up. Boy, the Desolate damage really did a lot of work on him there. Meanwhile, top, Void almost dies to it as well. He's dropping very low. Can't deal with the Timbersaw's tankiness, and he's going to get a cleanup kill on the Jakiro, so 2 kills quickly go in the way of Herps. Nice plays coming out from them on both sides of the map there. Obviously, ends of the world.
And there we saw the tale of 2 offlanes coming to fruition there. We saw the Tide just shy of level 6. Unfortunately, very regrettable death, although he has it now. And then we saw the Timbersaw top with all of his levels just dealing out a ton of burst damage to Jakiro. And he just basically shrugged off the Chronosphere and just said, come at me, bro. And yeah, so that fight going in favor of the Radiant in both areas.
Jakiro did pop his ulti and is looking to do some damage to this tower. He's pretty tanky. He's got max Dragon Blood, so he can actually tank this a fair bit if he wants to and just chip away at it. Pugna did pull the creeps back and is looking to keep his tower alive. So we'll have to see. I think this is going to come down to whichever team can get a tower first is then going to snowball and quickly take all the rest of the tier 1s. Timbersaw diving pretty deep onto the Mirana, though. Not going to be able to get... Mirana throws out an arrow. Unfortunately, Timbersaw managed to dodge it and actually turns it around. Nice plays from Dr. Jeff. So we talked about it in the draft. You're confident enough to first pick a Timbersaw, you know somebody on that team is going to be good at it, and this guy's showing that he is, in fact, quite good at Timbersaw. Nice play for him.
Yeah, he's quite fearlessly maneuvering his way in and out of these fights. 3 heroes closing in on him now. There is a Ravage, and he is under the tower.
Ravage is blown, the Ice Path connected, but he's so tanky. He pops his stick charges, throws out a Chakram, dodges the Macro Pyre, and he's going to Timbersaw away. What a Timbersaw! He's going to get the TP off, juked off from the side of the trees, and fantastic play coming up from him. Space created. Dragonite's coming up with a haste rune. I don't really know if he wants to go on this. Ravage is on cooldown, but there's still 3 heroes for 1. Might be a little more than you can choose, buddy. Throws out a Flame Breath and runs away.
Saw Timbersaw doing Timbersaw things right there. The Void might have made a bit of a misplay by using his Time Walk onto him immediately instead of waiting for him to cast the next Timber Chain. But either way, he was getting tanky as hell. He did have those instances of reactive armor too, so I don't think they were going to be able to bring him down.
Bottom lane, they've rotated the Tide down on the Spectre, and a Gush comes out. Mirana's going to look for an arrow. Throws it out. Oh, nice arrow, and that's going to land. That's going to be a Star Storm into a couple right clicks. Anchor Smash finishes off the Spectre. So I think that's a huge play coming out from NVG. They managed to get the kill on the most farmed hero on the side of on the side of Herpes and on the map in general. Spectre sitting about 700 gold ahead of the Faceless Void, and 150 above his own Timbersaw. So very farmed, and I think... Oh, he is going for Radiance, though. Haven't clicked on him in a while. 2,200 gold in the bank. Did go for that Aquila Treads. Mirana throws out a nice arrow, realizes that he's got teams coming in. The Void's going to get stunned, though. Tide's coming in, gets a Gush. Haunt comes out as well. Everybody's dropping pretty low. Chrono onto the Silencer. That's going to be a dead Silencer. Void's looking for more to go. Moonlight Shadow was used. Looks like they're not going to be able to get any other kills on it as the rest of the team dispersed pretty effectively. Dragonite ended up not making there and just backs off.
Yeah, Epstein Barr absorbing a ton of hate there. And yeah, as you mentioned, the Spectre does seem to be going straight for the Radiance. So every kill they can get on her to slow down that progress, to impede the snowball, is going to be valuable. But at this point, with their first tower falling top and DK constantly pressuring mid, I'm not sure how much space NVG is going to have to be able to slow down the Spectre's farm.
No, for sure. They're going to be under a lot of pressure from the Dragonite, and the rest of the team just kind of slowly pressuring their towers, having that offlane pushing in. Oh, Void leaps away. But I like that though. They're playing it very well on the side of Herpes, and I like the Radiance this game. Pugna, super squishy. I mean, going for an Ag, so it won't be that tanky, or sorry, it won't be that soft. Mirana though, again, very soft, only 700 health. Jakiro's only got 872, and then Void sitting at just about 1,000, just under 1,000. So they're going to be very vulnerable to this magic damage. Now, Void does have the max backtrack, so we'll block some of that. But the magic damage is going to do a lot to them. So when Spectre hits Haunt, and he is maxing Desolate, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're not really under a whole lot of pressure, they feel, to make things happen now. So they're alright with letting the Spectre farm in there. She's going to get a tower down here. Actually, Silencer picks up the last hit. So another tower falling in favor of the Radiant. They're going to lose mid here to this double damage ulti-formed Dragonites. The first set of towers in this game going the way of Herpes.
And we have a quick pause coming out. Looks like Mr. Sinister crashed. And going to have to just take a second to get him back in the game. Oh. Good stuff so far. Timbersaw working towards that Bloodstone. He's got, if he wants, he can disassemble his Arcanes, and he can have his Bloodstone. And getting a Bloodstone at 50 minutes on Timbersaw when he's 2-0, so he's gotten some kills, hasn't been killed yet. I think that's a good game. Get that regen up early. Get that snowball rolling sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want that. If you're going to go Bloodstone at all, you want it as soon as possible to accrue charges on it. And Timbersaw's had a really good game so far. Maybe Jordan needs to give him the old friend MMR check.
I'm sure he's good. He went through and checked everybody else out, so it should be fine. The pause is over. Pugna's back in the game, and we're rolling now. Void, no Chronosphere up yet, so and Ravage is up though, but. No, The courtesy, making sure everybody's okay and good to go. Dragon Knight doing some damage to the stack though, stealing some of the creeps. They found it, and that's gonna be a sad tie. That's his Blink Dagger money going down the drain.
Yeah, that's several minutes of hard labor there from the Tide, and this is not a good turn of events for the Dire, and I don't even think they're aware that this is going on, or maybe they feel they can't do anything about it.
I don't think they know that it's happening, but this stack right here was the reason the Tide was so far behind in his lane, because he spent some time going off to the side and getting it. And NVG, I imagine they probably think they're in Roshan. They haven't showed up. They're gonna pop a smoke. No lines being drawn in the map, but oh, there's one now. That is a direct line drawn right like that. A couple pings coming out mid and on the Roshan pit, so that's where they think they are. Tide's gonna be a little sad when he sees his stack. A couple of the creeps were cleared out, as he's got that one more point in Kraken Shell and he can do it indefinitely. There's no smoke broken yet, so they're gonna rotate around. They're gonna find the Venge though. I think this is Doctor Evil dropping very quick. There he goes. Ah, he panic. Gets and he gets arrowed, and that's all she wrote. I saw the void start to cast Chronosphere, quickly canceled it. Besides, really don't need that. Timbersaw is gonna be able to TP out. He's fine. But that's a smoke for a support Venge. I mean, they got a pick, so it's not a total waste, but you want to find that Timbersaw, the Spectre, or the Dragon Knight. Those are the heroes that you really want to find. Speaking of Spectre, Great Relic on the Crow, 17 minutes. So, decent time, especially after going... It's not even a Naked Relic. It's an Aquila and Treads at 17 minutes. I think that's pretty solid. Oh, and he's going to do something sneaky. He's going to keep it on the... He's going to keep it in his stash so they don't know that he has it yet. And I really like that. Don't let him know how close you are. Good play coming out from him.
Absolutely, that's one of those things that you see people do with relics. More commonly, you see it with blink daggers, especially on crucial heroes that needed to initiate. So don't let the enemy know about it. Don't let them make a point of it and react to it, and make it a surprise. So I like that.
Bottom lane though, they're gonna go onto the Tide, and he gets his Ravage off, but he gets bursted down by the Timbersaw and the Venge. Spectre's Haunt comes out. Did he pick up his relic before going in? No, he did not. But the Pugna's dropping very low. Timbersaw cleaning up. He's on a killing spree. So far, 3 dead for the side of NVG. Void unable to get off his Chronosphere. He does have that Mask of Madness now. Was not on cooldown. Mirana's going to look to TP out and is going to get away. And Jakiro's just going to limp his way back to the base. So excellent and decisive fight coming out for the side of Herpes. They get some quick kills. Tide uses Ravage to no avail, and they manage to burst the Void before he can get his off. So nice rotation for them. Lots of pings coming out on this ward. Or to put a ward there, I guess.
Yeah, and Spectre picked up some assists there, didn't die. I would like to see a bit quicker of an invis from the Mirana to save her teammates, but that was a very decisive fight, as you mentioned, from the Radiant. They have a lot of burst damage. They dropped that silence to buy them some time to deliver that damage, and another successful fight for them.
No, it was some very good plays. Nice jukes again coming out from Dr. Jeff. He's just all over the place on this Timbersaw, and he might be going straight Ags. Oh, he just bought something. Yeah, no, he's getting a Bloodstone. No, it's on the way now. He's going to be to him in mere moments. There it is. So he's going to be quite happy with that. Finished out at about 19 minutes. I think that's fairly decent timing. What time is the no-go zone for Timbersaw getting a Bloodstone? Like, how late is too late for him, you think?
I think anything significantly beyond that. I mean, obviously it depends on situation too. If it's a game where your Timbersaw or your team isn't as active with taking fights and getting kills, then you might just pass on it. But in this case, he was an offlaner, but he did get a good amount of farm, and obviously he's been involved in some kills. So, yeah, I think it's a fortunate pickup for him, and of course he wants those charges to be going up and not down.
And now Spectre had a really good timed relic, but the recipe is taking a little while as he opted to put the relic on the courier, or keep it in his stash, so that they're probably going to want to get it on him, have him at full health sitting in the well, and take a fight as soon as they get that relic. Global will be up there. They're going to want to position themselves to take a fight and unveil the relic in one fell swoop. Maybe something like have Spectre pushing top lane and the rest of his team in the Roshan pit, and then when they come to get them in the Roche pit, Spectre pops his haunt, gets the relic off the Crow, and is suddenly you have a relic on you or a radiance on you. Meanwhile, they're gonna go on the Dragon Knight mid. They get an ice path on him as well and a drain, but he manages to turn and stun the Pugna. Venge is there as well, so both teams back off quickly from each other, and there's a DD rune top that DK is gonna pick up. Next level stuff on Spectre, you think? Keeping the relic? Or hiding the radiance?
Yeah, I think so. Although I'm not sure if that's gonna continue to be the case once he actually gets the radiance. It could be if he's waiting in the well, but I think they'd rather just have him out in the lane farming and just
Mhm.
say, you know what, just here I am. This is what I've got, and if you want to come after me, my team's gonna be there. This is another thing that we're gonna see that might make a difference here is that Radiant's lineup is very tanky. The Spectre doesn't have any tanky items yet, but
Mm.
the Timbersaw and the Dragon Knight are both hard to kill. Whereas NVG's lineup is a bit more squishy. Their key heroes in fights like the Pugna are going to go down a little bit easier. So with that Chronosphere and the Ravage, they really need to make use of the small window after their initiation, or their heroes are not going to be able to outlast Radiance.
Mhm. And here comes the Haunt, and I was just going to comment on this. Look at how much damage the Mirana's taking just from a Haunt. Not getting that Desolate damage as the Pugna's pretty close, but almost killing the Tide. And they're going to look to go in the Spectre. They get the Decrep, but the Starstorm misses. And that Radiance is doing some serious damage. He almost killed the Tide, though. I'm pretty sure Tide was at full health. Maybe he was
Yeah,
doing the
Spectre,
Ancients. Oh no, he was doing
Spectre did
Ancients.
what neither of us expected there, which was both to not hide the Radiance and to not use the first Haunt in battle. But, I mean,
Yeah.
that just showed off the power of the Radiance. She almost solo killed the Tide. Her splits alone almost killed the Pugna and the Mirana. And I believe with the recent change to Spectre, you can actually jump from one image to the other. So she might have been able to use that to pick a better target. But yeah, that alone did a ton of damage to Dire's team, so they've got to be worried.
You can continually reality to the other illusions. As many as there are illusions. So they're gonna pop the DKLT and go for this tower. Meanwhile, the Dire is smoked up again. They're gonna look for a jump on here. Unfortunately, it's a Dragon Knight. He leaps in, gets a bash, but that's gonna be a swap out from the Venge. And that's just what I talked about. Nice Ravage comes out on 3, but then followed up by the Global. Venge does go down, but that's kind of her job. Timbersaw is in the middle of this fight. Needs to. Oh, he gets Decrepified into Ice Path. He's gonna drop as well. So NVG, they make it work. They manage to last through the Global. They throw out an arrow. Oh, and it's going to land. What a beautiful arrow. That's a 5-second stun onto the Dragon Knight. He's very tanky. They drop an Ice Path and a Decrepify, and they kind of burst him down with the magic damage, but just looking to finish him off, and they let Faceless Void pick up that kill. So good stuff coming from them. That's a pretty big fight. A 3-for-0 exchange, and they defend their tier 3. So nice play. Holy gold and XP graph Batman, though. That's a minus 750 gold for the Radiant, plus 2,400 for the Dire, and then a 4,400 experience swing going in favor of NVG. Jeez.
Yep, that was great, and they might try to get the silencer here if they get a bash. There's the bash gush.
Nice Ice
Get
Path.
the silencer, but
oh, Void wants it. He's disarmed though. From the last word, one more hit. Oh, he's gonna pay. He dives too deep. Silencer's sitting there thinking, ha ha. And he manages to make it out. Oh, nice plays, though, coming up from them. And that last word, that Max last word, that 5-second disarm, that's what kept him alive. Wasn't able to get it. And then also lucky that Void didn't bash, but at that one hit that he got. But still, it was kind of scary. Void is going for a Maelstrom, and that's an item. We haven't really talked about item builds in a moment here. Void does have his Mask of Madness. What else do we have coming out? Helm of the Dominator's up on the DK. Mech on the Silencer. Ern on the Venge, not a lot. Mech for the Jakiro. Pugna does have that Ags. I missed that. Tide, as we saw, had his Blink, but other than that, that's not a whole lot for this Dire.
Yep, so we might have another fight here near the mid tower. Going back earlier to that fight, it was a good idea for the Dire to take that fight 4-5, knowing that the Spectre's Haunt was down. As they finally finish off that top tower, we might have a clash here in the woods.
Not sure if they're going to want to go, though. Ravage is on cooldown. They have Chrono, but the Void's not quite there yet. He's on his way. And they know each other's here, and they're definitely juking back and forth. Timbersaw with that early Bloodstone, he died once, so he lost some charges. He lost a couple charges, but he's got them back now. He's only down to 7. So he's going to be happy with that. Another smoke coming out. I like NVG's use of smokes, and they're going to find the Venge, and they're going to leap. Gets a bash. Oh, Global Silence comes out. Decrepified as well. Timbersaw is looking to re-engage. Gets a nice Trockum on a lot. Dragon Knight loops back around, and they burst down the Mirana and the Jakiro very quickly. Meanwhile, Void drops as well. That Pugna Ward's doing a bit of work to the Timbersaw, and they're going to look to clean up this Tidehunter, and that's a quick 5-for-0. Excellent reaction time coming out from Herpes. They know that Silencer, he's got fast fingers. Gets off the Global Silence. They quickly burst down that wave, and this is going to be a mid-tower gun. They don't have any buybacks. Glyph is on cooldown for a while, too. So there might be a little chip damage on the tier 3, but I think they'll probably back off and take their victory. Maybe go into the Roche pit, but
Yeah, that was a great fight from them, and of course, Venge is not the hero you want to be focusing or dropping the Chronosphere on. And that was a reversal of the fight we saw top that Dire took convincingly, which was, you know, at that point, the Chronosphere went on DK in that earlier fight, and he was instantly swapped out by the Venge, but I felt that in that situation, you can let the DK sit there and take some more damage. I mean, he's a tanky hero. Instead, the Venge swapped herself in and died instantly without getting off any more spells. I think that was a situation where, hey, the DK's tanky, let him get in there and take some damage, and let your damage dealers return fire. And in this case, once again, we saw the Chronosphere going on the Venge instead of the DK. The Venge dies first, but
Venge lived.
that buys time. Oh, sorry, she lived. The Venge is focused first, but that buys time for everybody else to
Yeah,
just go to town.
the Chronosphere got cancelled mid-animation by Silencer. He hit his global, and then Tide couldn't get a Ravage off because he was silenced as well. And by the time the silence wore off, his team was dead and decided not to waste it, which I think is the right call. Looks like they drop a sentry here. There's no vision on the for the Radiant other than, I mean, there's vision here. They know that they came this way, but they don't know for sure that they were thinking about Roche. I have to see if that's what they go for. I gotta turn a light on here and get the yawns. And meanwhile, look, they're gonna group up and smoke. Pugna got missed, unfortunately, though, and they're gonna rotate through. Dragon Knight's here. He'd be about the one that they'd find, but he's quite tanky, and he's gonna be going for that BKB. Void does have that Maelstrom now as well. Just with that blink. And one thing we mentioned earlier, Silencer sitting at 12 stolen intelligence, so even if that's just one per, that's still, it's gonna hurt some of these heroes that don't have the biggest pool. See the last word come out on Pugna. Oh, that arrow range. Sancho's going to be stunned for another second, and they blink. Oh, excellent Ravage comes out from Kiko, but Global Silence to follow up. Chakram and the Timbersaw as well as the Brief Fire. That's going to be quick triple kill going the way of the Timbersaw. His BKB is up. He's going to get... No, he doesn't get that other kill. It's taken by the Spectre, and the Dragon Knight cleans up another. That's another 5-0 going the way of Herpes. These counter initiations are just too strong. Even with these nice Ravages or Chrono, or attempted Chronos, there's nothing they can do against the Global. Silencer counters with R, and good game.
Absolutely.
Well, not good game, but good fight.
And here's the thing about Tidehunter. It's difficult to assess sometimes whether you're better off using his Ravage to initiate or counter-initiate. And as we see Radiant taking down Roshan, the spoils for their teamfight victory at the mid-tier 1, I think often it's better for the Tide to be counter-initiating, because in this game, if he does get off his Ravage first, where's the follow-up? The follow-up, usually your range heroes who deal damage are going to be a bit behind the Tidehunter because they can't be in front or they get bursted down. So by the time the Ravage effects wear off, I mean, you don't have the follow-up, Silencer responds, all their other AoE comes in, and the Ravage ends up essentially going to waste or baiting your own team into it. So I think the Dire are going to have to use the Ravage a little bit more judiciously. They're in a defensive position on the back foot to begin with, but they just don't have the follow-up to take advantage of the Ravage.
No, they're gonna have to. I think what they need to be able to do is get that leap chrono onto the silencer, and Venge for sure, and then burst down the silencer. They need to kill the silencer and then follow up with the Tide Ravage and the Pugna Drain and stuff like that. And late game though, NVG, I don't think they have this late. I mean, they have a lot of heroes that are good late. Mirana can build core, and she's got Phase and Aquila, so she hits, but not really, you know? And up against a Spectre and a Dragon Knight, who are going to get so incredibly tanky. Spectre, in the meantime, did pick up a Diffusal, so even more damage coming out from him. And Control as well. Spectre's going to get so tanky that... What is this? French Fries has a... most of a Manta style on his Crow.
Yep, well, of course, the Manta images on the Spectre do get the Desolate damage, so that's a value pickup there. But yeah, as you mentioned, the heroes from Herpes are incredibly tanky, and that's going to be a problem for if you don't have heroes who can sustain and stay alive to deal damage to them. Just the Void's not going to be enough at this point, especially because his item progression hasn't been amazing. So he doesn't really have the burst to take down really anybody in the Chronosphere. Plus, if he does manage to get a good Chrono where they can isolate and focus on a target, if they don't have Venge in there, the Venge can just save her own life for a more crucial one. So it's going to be tough. Their positioning is going to have to be pretty much impeccable if they want to take one of these late game team fights.
And when I said Desolate earlier, I was looking at the spell, but I meant to say Diffusal. Sorry about that. For those of you guys watching the stream, and anyone watching in the client, thank you for tuning in again. Plug. But, so, both teams kind of sitting back to finish up those items. Spectre does have a Yasha, and it was the second level of Diffusal, which I don't really know if you get that second level of Diffusal until you're out of charges, and then you only get it if you want more charges. If you just want it for the burn, I don't think you upgrade Diffusal Blade anymore. You can spend that money on something better than that recipe and that little bit of extra, like, agility and intelligence you get. I mean, I guess it's like 4 int and 15 agility, so it's a decent amount for 700 gold, but it's just could be put towards something maybe a little more effective, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think, well, I would have liked to see her continue with the being tanky theme instead of a little bit more classy. I mean, if she has a heart, there's basically no way that she goes down in any of any of these fights. She does have an Aegis, but at 1100 HP, it is possible to kill her. But we're about to find out as there's a fight. Storm clouds are gathering top here.
Yeah, the Dragon Knight's gonna pop his ulti and push up top. Spectre throws a dagger and goes up to take out that the Pugna Nether Ward. The Void leaps in, looks for a Chrono, doesn't get it, and gets bursted down before he can. He doesn't have buyback. On the backside, Pugna's going to get cleaned up by French Fries on the Spectre. He pops his Haunt, and Ravage gets blown as well. They're going to get the Spectre, but that's just an Aegis. No, they're not. Beautiful swap from Dr. Evil. Timbersaw chains through and gets a kill. Double kill for the Spectre as well. The Tide, Pugna, and Jakiro, as well as the Void, have all dropped down. Marana's the lone one, throws out an arrow. Dr. Jeff from Secret Service is the arrow, throws himself in front of it. And French Fries and his team are just looking to clear over set of racks, and they're dropping very quickly. One thing we didn't.
The herps are spreading uncontrolled now, and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight of their oppression as they come down here in the mid.
No, for sure. And I mean, Dr. Evil on that Venge with the Vengeance R is making it pretty effective. And Jihu calls Dr. Evil. GG's come out, and it was a good game, well played, coming out for the side of Herpes as well as Non-Virgin Gaming. Congratulations to Herpes for winning the game and advancing on. And, well, I believe NVG have a second chance in the lower bracket set of matches. So we'll be back with more of this action today. I'm going to mute the stream, try and sort out the sound settings a little bit better, guys. I'm going to throw up some music for you, so you can just sit still, zone out with some Monster Cat, and we'll be back. And of course, I'm at Wolf Dota, joined by my friend Korean Barbecue, and we'll be back.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7,
Welcome to the Monster Cat Podcast. Taking you on a journey. This is Monster Cat.
Hey guys, this is Aerocord. Thank you for the massive love on Surface, and I hope you enjoy my new track Boundless right here on the Monster Cat Podcast.
Welcome to the Monster Cat Podcast. tuned in to the Monster Cat Podcast.